The FOI Act deals with exempting employee personnel files, similar files, records. I'm just curious, would an assessment profile that's available online be characterized as a similar file for disclosure purposes? Through you.
Representative Blumenthal.
Through you, Mr. Speaker, would the good representative mind specifying a little further what he means by assessment file? Through you.
Representative Zullo.
Absolutely. So every town maintains an assessment database that you can log into, and you can type in an address, and you can see who owns the property, and on that card, perhaps the residential address of that person. So what I'm trying to ascertain is if the assessor's office receives an FOI request for the assessment card for a certain property, or an FOI request for all property owned by this person, and this person is a public employee, if this were to pass, would that be characterized as a similar file under FOI in this act that would be exempt from disclosure? Through you.
Representative Blumenthal.
Through you, Mr. Speaker, thank you to the good representative for clarifying his question. Under this bill, that would not qualify as a similar file. Through you.
Representative Zullo.
Thank you very much for the answer. I didn't think it would, but I wanted to be clear. So the concept of similar file is what we're looking at. It's got to be part of the locus of what would be generally in somebody's personnel file. So if something's available on the assessor's website or the tax website or a similar website already available, it probably would not be exempt from disclosure. That's good to hear. That was the only question I had. I just have a couple of comments, if I may. Everybody deserves to feel safe in their jobs. No doubt about it. I don't think anybody disagrees with that statement. But to the good point of my colleague just now, what are we trying to address here? What are we trying to fix? We're trying to address threatening behavior. We're trying to address unlawful, inappropriate, totally out-of-line threats to the safety and welfare of people who are making our state and making our towns run, right? So what would be the logical solution to doing that? Let's enact some tougher laws that penalize people who commit this egregious behavior, right? If you threaten a public official, you should get in trouble. Plain and simple. Maybe you should actually go to court, have to stand before a judge. I mean, I know it's a foreign concept, but maybe you should actually get convicted of something in this state. It's impossible to get convicted of anything almost. So we're trying to fix the behavior. Let's do something to deter it. Put some real teeth on our bills and start holding people accountable for the behavior. Every year we hear this bill, a version of this, to the point of my colleague. It starts with the Attorney General's office. We talk every year about a slippery slope. We are ignoring that slope and we are going hang gliding off of it right now, okay? This is taking every single employee in every single public agency and saying, we don't have to disclose their residential address when it's on a file in their personnel file. Did anybody ask any of the clerks in any of these offices if they're ready to sit there in Adobe and manually take out these addresses on every single file? You're going to have people doing overtime just whiting out. I mean, I'm dating myself. I'm not that old. I'm 38. But we used to white out, right? PDF taking it out or whiting this out. You're going to need overtime just to do this. This is crazy. I got to tell you, we have some of the best employees in our towns and across our state, and every job that they do, from some of the highest level to some of the entry-level jobs, all of those functions are important, okay? And they all make our towns and state run. But I can't tell you the last time I was hanging out on my public works garage and the laborer told me, gee, Joe, I had a resident threaten me because the lines on the town green when I was cutting the lawn weren't straight, okay? There's no reason to redact the address of the public works laborer, okay? I was in the assessor's office the other day. I was talking to the assessment clerk. She's a wonderful woman. We talked about so many things. She didn't say, gee, Joe, I'm terrified to go home at night because I'm worried that the numbers I'm putting in the computer are going to anger the real estate agent who's coming in. No, she's not worried, okay? There's a reason why we do this, office by office, person by person. Because you're not supposed to cut with a hammer. You're supposed to cut with a knife. We're talking about freedom of information. We're talking about sunshine laws. We're talking about making sure the most information that can be available is available to the public. I can't tell you about the hypocrisy of government. I can tell you where this might be useful. The blight official who comes to somebody's house to cite them for blight, whose backyard looks like a train wreck. I think my resident in my town has the right to know where that person lives. Because you know what? If their backyard's a mess, somebody should be visiting them too. But what we're saying today, by passing this, is every single employee of every single public agency, state level, local level, is more important than the average person out there, stands in a better position than the average person out there, and deserves protection that the average person who goes to a 9-to-5 job cannot avail themselves of. The tow truck driver who goes out in the middle of the night and tows somebody's car, that person is irate. They don't have the right to this protection. But public agency employees are going to have it right after this passes. That is just disgusting. And it's totally unnecessary. It's a waste of public resources. Honestly, we can make this work. We can get it to do what we want it to do, but we don't need to reach this far. I appreciate the time, Mr. Speaker, and I hope some of my colleagues will join me in opposing this bill. Thank you.